My name is Jessica.
And my name is Dustin.
We are the Popcorn Poops.
Here at Popcorn Poops HQ, we produce a movie podcast and commentary track hybrid that may be synced up to whatever film we're talking about or enjoyed as a standalone audio program.
Today we will be watching the 1998 film The X-Files, directed by Rob Bowman. If you are syncing this recording up to the movie, go ahead and start the film and then press pause as soon as the 20th Century Fox logo completely fades to black.
It's time to start the movie. Syncers, press play at the beep after the countdown. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yay! So previously on The X-Files...
This is a first for us. We're actually doing a movie that I had seen this before. I had seen this years before, but this is maybe only the second or third time you've seen this, and it's because you just watched it for the first time.
Yeah, I just watched it for the first time.
Last
week, yeah.
Now, why'd you pick this movie? That is your pick, of course.
Because I'm a fan of The X-Files, and that I get into TV shows, and I don't really like watching TV while it's on TV, but I like marathoning on Netflix or on DVDs or whatever. And I got into The X-Files last year, I guess, and I recently hit the 5th season, and you informed me that there was a movie, and I freaked out. So
I can't believe you didn't know there was a movie.
So I just finished the 5th season, and
Exterior.
And
Day.
That's when this movie takes place, is between the 5th and 6th
Two
season.
dark figures bound across a white, snowy expanse. Mulder and Scully?
I know. I thought so, too, when I first watched it. I thought it was. And actually, I think this is foreshadowing for the end of the movie when the two of them are bounding through the snow together.
Yeah, the end of the movie is kind of bookmarked by another, snowy
There's
place.
There's even a shot when they're trudging through the snow and it's the two of them, and it's it looks like this shot again, or the previous shot.
But these are actually primitive people.
Yes.
This would be 35,000 years BC. This was before we got all politically correct and started calling things BCE and CE and all that good stuff.
Right.
But that would be Earth's last ice age. So man would be, I guess, I don't know what the technical word for, I don't know if it's Cro-Magnon man. Is that right?
Don't ask me.
You didn't do the research?
Not for that, no.
You only did about 7 hours of research.
No, that was to make sure that I got my episode numbers right when I was making references.
Okay. Because in episode 3 of season 6.
Hey, there are a lot of serious X-Files fans out there, and I'm going to do my damnedest not to piss them off.
Yes, they're called X-Files, spelled Xphile.
That's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Adorbs. But we do have two primitive men searching a cave right now, and they're going to come across an alien, some kind of creature, and one of them's going to die very tragically, and the other will be consumed by some black sludge.
Yes, the black alien stuff. Do you know anything about this stuff?
Nope. But I guess you're going to tell me.
I am. Before we go into it, though, what is your knowledge? I've watched through the 5th season, and I've watched the first couple episodes of the 6th season, which take place after this movie. But that's all I've seen. So I don't know anything else.
I've seen a handful. I've seen probably all of the first season, some of the second season, and a handful of episodes here or there that I went back and watched because I heard some actor I liked made a guest appearance.
Oh, you're talking about like Drive or something.
Yeah, or someone I like wrote the episode or directed the episode or something. But no, I wouldn't really call myself a fan. Certainly not an X-File.
Yeah, but you like the X-Files.
I do. I do. I guess in that way I am a fan.
You are. You like the X-Files. What you don't sit and watch it obsessively, No. Like I do, but
we do fall asleep to it a lot because you like to put it on and
I do,
and fall asleep to it.
So the black stuff, we saw it even in the opening credits. We saw this gooey black stuff floating around the words "The X-Files," and these go all the way back to this black stuff. It's also called Purity.
Really?
Yeah, it goes all the way back to season 3, episode I guess like 15. Where we saw this French salvage ship looking for a B-29 airplane from World War II that was carrying a nuclear bomb, similar to what was dropped on Japan. And the escorts of this plane, and a diver finds the pilot still alive in this ship that's been under the water all these years, and he's infected with this creepy black oily stuff. And this stuff is it's also called the Black Cancer by the Russians. And the well-manicured man, who we will meet later in this movie, he believes that this is the original inhabitant of the planet Earth, the black stuff. It's sentient, it can communicate, and it takes over human bodies and controls them, which I guess is the aliens' means of creating a human slave race, which is what this movie is revealed is happening in this
basically
series.
The plot of the movie is that aliens are trying to take over the planet, which of course they are.
But you say of course they are, but for me, like, this whole opening scene and everything was kind of strange to me, because this is a TV show that does not give a lot of answers. Most of the time you're left to question whether or not something is real when you see it. It kind of like an old boy, you get no satisfaction all the time. Yeah, Mulder and Scully are constantly, whatever they figure out, it's taken away from them constantly. So
this movie is kind of like that, though. Like that's I think one of the movies.
This movie is just a long episode of the X-Files.
It is a longer and only slightly swankier episode of the X-Files.
It even follows the format of an X-Files episode.
Because this, like, as far as a movie goes, by movie standards, the spectacle is not that spectacular.
It's really not. No.
It actually looks kind of like a cheap movie.
I love this little kid's accent, by the way.
This is an actor by the name of Lucas Black, and every role he's had, I think this is just how he talks, and that's probably why he gets these roles, because he's got this really deep,
he's great
Texas accent. But yeah, the fact that this movie doesn't really feel like a movie is only one of my many, many problems with it. I can't.
You're just going to poop all over this movie the whole time, aren't you?
I can't imagine how a fan of The X-Files who was waiting for this movie to come out with bated breath and they go to see it. I imagine one of two reactions. Are you fucking serious? Or, yes, it was totally great. Oh, I'm so excited. Basically, the Star Wars
prequel.
Yes,
yeah.
Star Wars Episode 1 initial reaction. It was totally good. It was great, wasn't it? It was great, right? Was it not? It wasn't. Let me think about it. I'm going to see it again. It wasn't good. It was bad, wasn't it? Oh, my God. What have I done? What have they done? And then you question everything.
No, I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not.
It really
that
isn't.
bad.
It's just, look, I'm not going into this saying this is a fantastic movie. But I am going into this saying this is a great episode of the X-Files.
I wouldn't even say it's a great episode of the X-Files.
I think it's a good episode. Well, okay, there's some really big plot holes, but
yeah, exactly. Like, I would say that as far as as writing goes, for like standard of excellence for the writing in the show,
X-Files writing excellence
tends
pretty
to be
high.
pretty good. Yeah, I think they've got a pretty good track record. I don't think this is even a great X-Files episode.
That's true.
I'm sorry.
But there's some stuff that I love, and I love that they get to cuss. I love that Mulder gets to say shit.
They do, and they wear it out a little bit, but then they don't claim they're one fuck. They get one fuck
true,
in a
and they
PG-13
don't
movie. And why can't Mulder like go up against like an alien or something? Alien comes around the corner and he's like, fuck that, and walks away, and the audience is like, oh, Mulder said fuck, yay. And that's, we get ours too. Nope, none of that.
Anyways, this opening scene gave us a lot of information. It let us know that this black stuff, that aliens came here, that ancient aliens are a thing, that ancient aliens are real. Which one of the reasons this is such a big deal to me is because previously on the X-Files, Mulder lost his faith in aliens. He stopped believing in them because he began to believe that he was informed that really it was all a government hoax, and like he was being led by the government to believe in aliens as part of the hoax. Like his belief was helping them divert attention away from the real conspiracies that were going on. And so he was led to believe that there weren't aliens at all.
I wonder if this is Giorgio Tsokalos's favorite movie.
Who?
The guy from Ancient Aliens with the crazy hair. That looks like he's really high all
Oh my
the
God,
time.
he does. Oh, he's so awesome. This is the guy from Walking Dead.
First couple of seasons of The Walking Dead. Spoilers. Oh, oops. Spoilers for The Walking Dead. He plays Dale?
Is that his name?
I think his name is Dale.
He's the guy who has the
Camper.
and
he drives the RV.
he keeps the one girl from committing suicide, which pisses her off for like multiple seasons after.
Well, he keeps her from having a gun. He refuses
Yeah,
to
but
give her a gun.
she tries to kill herself,
And maybe that's why he
and
takes
then
her
like
gun?
he doesn't let her.
Whatever. He's in that show, which is also underwhelming.
You're saying that as though the X-Files is underwhelming, and it's not.
No, just the movie. I haven't seen the second movie. I heard it's not even as good as this.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I will watch it. Absolutely. But that takes place after I finish the show, right?
Yes, it does.
I'm about to lose Mulder in the show. I know that happens. I don't know when it happens. I don't want any spoilers. So, internet, please don't make me hate you. But I know Mulder. I read somewhere unintentionally that I know he gets abducted by aliens. So, I know he's going to go away. I know it happens soon-ish, but I don't know when. I don't know how well I'm going to watch the show after that.
I feel like the courier font location and date stamps in the movie, I know they're a stalwart from the show, but in the movie they feel really cheap.
Yeah.
Kind of out of place.
Look,
because
it's John Locke.
it is. It's Terry O'Quinn, who has played 3 different characters throughout the X-Files franchise. Did you know that?
I know that he was first in season 2, episode 12, called Aubrey, where he played Lieutenant Brian Tillman.
How about that?
Thank you.
At season 2, episode 12 of The X-Files,
Oh my god.
Terry O'Quinn, the finest thespian of our
Oh
time.
my god, you are a terrible person.
And of course he's in this, and then he's also in season 9 as a character called the Shadow Man.
Huh.
I don't know if that spoils anything for you.
No. Well, I mean, how can it's so vague that. Anyways, he's looking off into the distance, and I had trouble the first time I watched this deciding whether or not he was in on the conspiracy. But then, of course, we realized that he is. He sees Scully up here on the roof. He just saw her.
A really unceremonious reveal of our main characters, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of is.
Because, you know, in the beginning, when you see the 2 figures, like,
Running
going across
in
the
the
snow,
snow.
you're like, oh, my God, this is awesome. They're walking across some tundra, and it's crazy and epic already. And it doesn't end up being them. So our introduction to our main characters, Dana Scully and Fox Mulder, just talking on radios on the roof.
But we get right into it here with her characterization where she's given us all these statistics and facts, and we're like, whoa, she
must be skeptical.
the woman of science. And then Fox is going to respond to her science as usual by saying that he thinks the limitations of things that can be organized, categorized, and easily referenced are only blinders to the truth, which is the organized, categorized, and easily referenced thing he says repeatedly throughout the movie.
He says it at the end of this movie, too, I think.
He says it a couple times.
But yeah, so our heroes, so to speak.
I love them. I really
Fox
do.
Mulder, played by David Duchovny, and Dana Scully, played by Gillian Anderson. And I really love them too.
He's eating sunflower seeds.
I think they are just terrifically dry in the best way.
Yes, in the best way.
I don't mean that in a bad way. And especially Dana kind of hits that perfect Clarice Starling note, which makes sense because that's where she got her biggest inspiration for the role, is Clarice Starling as played by Jodie Foster in The Silence of the Lambs. And it's all
She's
over.
spot on, yeah.
She's spot on. It's all over
Yeah.
her character. The only thing she's missing is the accent, a little southern twang. But,
Yeah, she's...
I would have loved to see her in Hannibal and have her
Didn't
put
you
on
say
that
that
little
she wanted to do it?
She wanted to do it, but she couldn't because she was under contract, or there was some kind of scheduling conflict with the fact that she's on a
this is
weekly
my
television
favorite
series.
my favorite dialogue between them.
It's very It's a very dry joke.
When I panic,
When I
I
panic.
make this face. No face. That was it. I saw that face. That was the face. You didn't see that face.
And I mean, that's not like a gut splitting joke or anything. It is rather dry, but they call back to that joke.
They do. In like a serious moment coming up.
Really serious
We just
moment.
saw the guy walk out of the vending machine room.
Who is the sketchiest looking dude ever? Like
Yeah.
if I just saw him in public, I'd be like, "Stop, sir! You're
Stop.
you're
Whoa,
up to
you're putting a
something."
bomb somewhere, aren't you?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to profile you. You probably had very terrible acne as a child, and that scarred you both figuratively and literally for life. But you look like you're up to no good.
Yeah, and he is. He's the guy who put the bomb in here because he's later going to be the guy in the ambulance that shoots Mulder
For no
in
reason.
the
Oh,
head.
sorry. Well, I'll bring up my issues with that decision when we get there.
So when he finds this this vending machine, I guess the guy's outside the door right now sealing Mulder in with the thing on the because the keyhole is filled when Scully comes to try and open the door.
I guess it's super glue.
I guess.
What is it?
I don't know.
It's enough for her to be like, "Oh, that's stuff that makes the door not work."
But the light's still on in the vending machine, so I guess there's some kind
did
of
not-
power still going on, even though the plug is.
I didn't even notice that. No, it wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
That would not work.
Yeah, that was the one thing that confused me because like the light was still on, and then he looks and he finds the plug is missing, which is the
Where it's unplugged. Which was our
yeah, it's unplugged.
which was our hint. It was
Right, that was our hint. But the light's still on the vending machine, so somehow he's got like a battery pack or something going, like he rigged it up with the bomb. I don't know. Why is the light still on?
I don't know. It seems like a lot of work for what they refer to as an IED. So when they actually get this thing open, it's open right now and we can see it. The what's his name? Terry O'Quinn's character, Michaud. Is that his name?
Maybe.
Michaud?
I just keep calling him John Locke.
He'll come into the room here in a minute and enter the scene, and he will refer to it as an IED, which is a word that has kind of entered the public's lexicon over the past 10 years, what with the conflict in Iraq and the Middle East, because our soldiers, the American soldiers, have had to deal with IEDs and whatnot, and that it means improvised explosive device.
Oh, okay.
I don't know technically what that is, though, like what defines an improvised explosive device. Like when I think of that, I'm thinking
That thing in that vending machine didn't look real improvised.
no, and that's kind of what I'm getting at is that when I think of improvised explosive device, I'm thinking some MacGyver shit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like
Like you got like a potato and 3 paper clips.
I was gonna say like a gas can and a rag,
Okay,
and
sorry.
and a couple of rubber bands, and you got to make it work. But I like the potato. I'm racking my brain trying to think how that would work in there.
I was going somewhere.
This doesn't look improvised at all. This looks
No, look at all
this
those
looks
wires.
very planned.
Like there's some duct tape, but it's colored duct tape
yeah,
even.
but you use duct tape and everything, right? So yeah, I don't know exactly what an IED is, but
He's talking about that panic face again.
yes. So he makes a call back to that, and then at the end of the movie, she makes a call back to it too.
Well, she makes a call back to her pretending like the door was locked on the roof. And she was like, I got you big time. And that's what
Yes.
spurred the whole panic face. Is like, you didn't. And she was like, you were panicking. That's not my panic face. And at the end, when she dies for a second,
Would you say that they're jokier in the movie than they are in the TV show?
yeah.
I mean, I would say they're
yeah.
equally as dry, but I think there are more.
Yeah, I
jokes
think they're jokier.
per volume. I don't know how would you measure
Measure jokes per second.
jokes per frame.
Jokes per frame.
The jokes per frame ratio is
The rate is
much
higher.
Yeah.
So I guess in this scene right here, Terry O'Quinn, John Locke's character knows that he's going to die because he right here he says, "Yes, I can defuse the bomb," and I think we're supposed to believe him that yeah, he could defuse this bomb. He's just not going to
Yeah, at this time.
because
At this time, we're supposed to believe that he's going to do it, but yeah, he
right, but he's about to just sit there and look at it because I guess he's involved in the whole conspiracy. He knows that there are bodies in this building, the bodies of the firemen that were missing and of the little boy who got infected with the black oil.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you this. I know what the movie's reasoning for this is, but I don't know if you have a reasoning for it. Actually, we're just about to watch the movie's entire budget go up in flames, quite literally. But why did Mulder search this building at all?
He had a hunch.
Oh my God! Yes, that's what he says. It's so arbitrary. It is such an arbitrary thing for It makes sense for there to be a bomb threat being called into the government building, and they go search the government building. But he's like, nah, I'm going to check the building across the street.
Where there are no federal employees.
Right.
But, I mean, maybe that's Mulder believing there's government conspiracy stuff going on.
But why the building across the street? What is this building? Do they ever say what exactly the building is?
Why'd they call it? Well, I mean, they clearly called in this bomb threat.
There goes the budget. Right there. That's it.
That's the whole budget.
That's the whole budget.
That's why we didn't get a better spaceship at the end.
They spent a chunk of change on some bees later on and a couple
True.
of...
Hey, that scene is awesome.
A little bit of helicopter fuel. But, this right here...
is Oklahoma City bombing as hell?
Yeah, very much so. It's pre 9/11, we didn't have 9/11 imagery, obviously. But in 1995, there was an attack on a government building in Oklahoma City, and I remember it. I was young, but I remember it happening, and I remember watching news footage, and it looks a lot like this building right here.
When was it?
A lot like this. In 95. It was in April of 95, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I was pretty young still. I remember some of the stuff on TV though, and so this movie's 98. So this is pretty.
Yeah, it's pre 9/11, post Oklahoma City
pretty
bombing,
recent.
and it is very.
And it was a federal building too, in
calling on imagery from
Oklahoma,
from that Oklahoma City bombing incident. So that's kind of interesting. This movie kind of takes place in an interesting cultural place, between two, major terrorist events, and that's. Before 9/11, that's what we had to call to. That's, that was the cultural callback that you could summon in people's minds. And it's effective because, it's not that I forgot about Oklahoma City, but when I see that, I'm like, wow, you don't see that kind of imagery in movies anymore. It's always like, plumes of smoke coming out of tall buildings and things like that. And, collapsing buildings and things, stuff that recalls that horrible day. But yeah, that's kind of fascinating to me.
So as I go through this movie, I continually just try to get the facts straight in my head of what's going on.
And it'll never happen because the facts never entirely line up.
Right. But we've got the ancient aliens were in the cave.
Oh, look at Blythe Danner, looking really pretty.
Who's that?
Blythe Danner. She's a pretty famous actress. She's probably most famous for being the mother in the Meet the Parents series, the Fokker series. Meet the Parents,
yeah,
Meet the Fockers.
I think I saw the first one and was done.
She plays Robert De Niro's wife. And she's quite good in those movies. I like her in everything I've seen her in. But
do you know the sunflower thing?
I don't, but I bet you're going to tell me.
I am. When Mulder was a child, he would have nightmares where he would wake up and think that he was the only person left in the world. And then he would hear his father loudly crunching on sunflowers down the hall, and he would realize he was not the only person left in the world and feel better. So that certainly has something to do with why he obsessively eats sunflowers. Some fans theorize he has an oral fixation.
Well, that's an easy place to go.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know much about Mulder and Scully's parents? Are they orphans?
Orphans?
Not at all. They're not orphans at all. So
No.
You said that he's got a father.
Yeah. His mom's still alive where I am in the show. Is she still alive? I remember she was sick. I don't remember if she died.
Did he have a happy childhood apart from
yes,
of course,
up until Samantha was taken, his sister.
Okay, what about Scully?
Scully had a happy childhood.
That's weird for heroes in modern media.
Yeah, she had a totally normal happy childhood. She has a brother and a sister. Her sister is now dead. Mulder's dad is dead. Scully's dad is dead.
But they're adults now. You've got to assume that they've encountered death, of loved ones in their lives. I don't know. There was an interesting episode of the Cracked podcast that I'm a big fan of. Their most recent episode, they talk about Disney orphans and kind of the whole culture around main characters who have been orphaned or have lost parents, kind of tragically, and how that somehow, I don't know, engenders some kind of empathy with audiences, and we don't know why, because
most people
aren't
don't
orphans.
lose their parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's kind of like when we went to go see the most recent Ghibli film.
Yeah, when Marnie
was there, and she's an orphan, and I don't know, the whole time it's just like, but like that, it's actually harder for me to empathize with that because I wasn't. Not that I can't sympathize with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I can have sympathy for someone
say, "Oh, poor thing,"
who's lost their
but
parents, but I can't connect to that character on a personal level.
Bro.
And I don't think most people can, because most people have parents that they grew up with, or at least a parent.
Yeah. So that is interesting for modern.
Yeah, no, both of them had happy childhoods. Mulder's childhood, in my mind, ended when his sister was taken. When Samantha was, he believed for a long time, abducted by aliens. This movie kind of gives an answer, though. This more so than we've had in hard evidence any time before in the show, but he had begun to speculate that his father had given his sister away to the aliens or the government or something.
What does OPR stand? Oh, Office of Professional Review. I just figured it out. I realized that Scully mentioned OPR.
She had an OPR meeting.
She had an OPR meeting.
A meeting with OPR.
And I just figured it out. Never mind.
Good job.
Answered my own question. This scene is awful.
Yeah.
This is
the drinky time scene with Mulder.
This is a terrible, terrible scene. Yeah. This actress is supposed to be somewhat famous. I think she's a British actress who was a big fan of the show, and the Chris Carter called her and said, "We'll give you this little part." She's fine. And there's Martin Landau sitting at the end of the bar.
Oh, we also saw Walter Skinner just a second ago, and we didn't mention him at all. But Skinner he was the bald guy.
He's the director of the FBI?
He's unassistant director.
Okay.
Unassistant director. In earlier episodes, he is often seen with this cigarette smoking man, CSM, who is, I guess, Mulder's nemesis, I guess.
I think that had he stopped here after he talks about Spooky, maybe it would have been okay, but then he goes on about his sister being abducted and
giving us a bunch of Mulder backstory
and shouting to the heavens with a gun and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I get that the point of this scene is for audiences who are not familiar with the X-Files can go see this movie and understand these characters. This is not how you do that. Like having him just sit in a bar
and just say it.
Explain away his most basic motivations, because
just exposition diarrhea.
No other way to
out the mouth.
Really, really clunky and awkward.
It is, and I think that's hard. It's so hard for a movie that
I don't disagree.
That is a TV show.
It is a task, but that is
where
part
you
of
have
your
to
job.
find some way to reconcile that you want to please your fans, but you also spent a lot of money and you're hoping to make some of it back. And if you're just getting your fans to watch it, then you're not going to make it back. You have to get other people to watch it too.
I don't think not Fox Mulder, I don't think Fox, the company, had a lot of faith in X-Files really ever, because you just read about like the production history of the show and how he had to go to Fox and show them like 90 pages of an incomplete script in order for them to say okay to the movie project. And
Independence Day poster. Yeah,
Chris Carter hated Independence Day. That's why Mulder's pissing on the poster.
I see now.
Yeah, there's actually it's kind of funny. In Independence Day, there's a line that was spoken just after the first shot of the cable station in the movie, and the line is, "Yeah, I love the X-Files too. I hope I get to see it." But Chris Carter really, really, really hated that movie. So he decided to return the favor by having his character piss on the movie poster.
Wow.
What was I saying before?
About Fox not liking... Okay, but this moment here first. You come out here for a reason. I did, Kurtzweil says, as he unzips his trousers and walks toward Mulder. I mean, I'd run away too. Like, it's a really awkward delivery, and everything right there is just really. This Kurzweil character makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
That was a quick piss for an older guy. His prostate must be in tip-top shape. Way to go, Marty.
And then, like, here, he's going to immediately start talking about how he's an OBGYN and stuff. I don't know, just everything about him really just makes me uncomfortable.
I think that's the point. I think that's the point. I think
well, then they did their job well.
Well, what I was saying about Fox not having faith in this property, if you just read about the production history, about how Chris Carter had to get the script to Fox first and before they would ever say yes to the movie. I mean, any other production company that had a successful show that had been on the air for 5 years and the showrunner says, we want to make a movie, the studio should be like, yes, whatever you want. Of course, make a movie. Make us a ton of money. Please do that. But no, they were like, I don't know about that. Show us a script first. And like he had to go through all of those normal channels in order to get this movie made. It's crazy. That's so crazy. You would think that an X-Files movie would just print money. And as I understand it, this movie did pretty well.
Why doesn't Fox like the X-Files?
Because they don't like anything. They have they have a really long history of canceling beloved shows and, just not being in touch with their audience.
Maybe it's a government conspiracy.
That's probably what it is.
So you made the Independence Day comment, and that's kind of interesting because in the 6th season, like I said, I've only watched a few episodes in, which takes place after this movie. In the first episode, Mulder and Scully are in another hearing, and one of the guys says that their story, which is this movie, they're recounting the events in this movie, and one of the guys in the hearing panel says that their story, he's like, are you sure you didn't pick that up off of Men in Black? And Mulder's like, I haven't seen it, and the guy responds with, damn good movie. So does that mean that Chris Carter likes or dislikes Men in Black?
I don't know. Was the character who said it a dumbass?
Well, I mean, I guess he's doesn't believe Mulder, so.
I really hate this exchange right here. Mulder comes over to her house in the middle of the night, walks in, and Scully asks if he's drunk. And then he says that he was drunk until about 20 minutes ago when Martin Landau, dropped some info bomb on him. And Scully's like, so did you decide to come here before or after you sobered up, basically? She is implying
that he came over to have sex with her.
Right. That he's just going to show up drunk and get some nookie. I mean, I don't know much about the X-Files. We've established this. That doesn't seem in character. Am I wrong?
That
doesn't
feel
seem like that's in their characters.
Well, I mean, of course, there's tension. There's hot and bothered tension between them through the whole show. Of course, there's attraction between them. Of course, there's sexual tension. Of course. But
it just doesn't ever feel like it's that overt.
No. Well, the show goes to extreme lengths to make sure that we know that they have a friendship first and foremost, that most of the time that it's not anything sexual whatsoever. For as far as I am, they're as deep as I am in the show, they've never kissed, this show does way more of that, or this movie does way more of that than the show has up to the point that I'm at in it. In fact, I can't tell you, the reason that scene upsets me is because I can't tell you how many times throughout the show Mulder pops up in Scully's house or hotel room or whatever really late at night, and she's just like, oh, what do you want? God, what, Mulder?
Exactly. Like, I feel like all around the movie is kind of an exercise in X-Files excess, where all of these different things that are usually really low key, like there's not a whole lot of humor in the show. There's not a whole, like the sexual tension isn't so heavy handed. There isn't, they don't show the monsters outright so much. They don't show the UFOs outright so much.
And they're always leaving you to question whether or not you actually saw what you think you saw.
All of that stuff is cranked up in this movie. The sexual tension's cranked up. The jokes are cranked up.
And they totally show us aliens, and it's definitely aliens, and they tell us that it's aliens. And that, like I said, is a big deal because at this point Mulder doesn't believe in aliens. He doesn't believe in them where we are.
The ongoing question in the show is there or is there not a government conspiracy going on? And until this movie, the answer was, maybe.
Well,
but this movie answers that question definitively.
Actually, for me, it's kind of the way I felt was kind of the opposite. Was that Mulder at this point was certain that there was a government conspiracy, but he did not believe in aliens anymore. And this movie, to me, proves both of those things.
Also, why did Mulder go over to her apartment in the first place? Like, doesn't he call her on the phone in the middle of the night and say, "Meet me here right now"? And she's like, "Why?" And he says, "Just do it." Like, he went over to her apartment just so they could write, that little bit of sexual tension into the script?
I think they are going off together to go do the autopsy and stuff right now, aren't they?
They are, but he could have asked her to meet him somewhere. Like, he just shows up at her apartment and says, "Okay, now that I'm here, we're leaving again." That's exactly what he does.
He
says,
know.
"I'll tell you on the way," and then end of scene.
I mean, he does that a lot in the show, though, is he just pops up in her place of sleeping.
Maybe I'm nitpicking, but
and
it
is like,
feels like
come
a
on,
bad
let's
reason
go.
for...
Well, to me, it's a callback to him constantly showing up and waking her up, because they're always doing that in the show, where she's always just like, "Oh God, do I have to?" And he's like, "Yeah, we've got to go right now." And the thing is that that's part of their characterization, their relationship, that I love, that they just trust in each other and they just do those things. Like, there are scenes of them like laying in a bed together watching investigative videos or whatever, and it's totally platonic. Like, it's I don't know. I just feel like they didn't capture it quite right.
I like this exchange, though.
Yes.
This exchange is really nice. It shows between Mulder and this private,
where
this
he just
enlisted
talks
man.
him into believing that they're supposed to be at this military
He's just smarter than this
protective
guy.
facility.
He's smarter than this guy, and he talks his way through the situation. And the looks that Scully's given him the whole time, she's like, "I'm not going to say anything."
Yeah,
but
and she does this a lot too, where he's doing very illegal stuff, and she doesn't exactly participate, but
she doesn't. I'm sure she doesn't agree with what he's doing, but she's certainly not going to blow the whistle on
no.
him.
And she's just always kind of like, "Oh God, are we doing this? Oh yeah, we're doing this. We're doing this. We're breaking into this facility. Awesome." One thing that I hate about this whole scene, though, is that he leaves her here.
He does.
He leaves her.
For not a really great reason.
No,
either.
and she's going to be trapped in here with these military guys looking for her. And, like, when they meet up the next time, he doesn't even mention it. He's not even like, "Are you okay?
Did you get out of there all right?" He's like, "Well, you're alive. I guess you're
You're
fine."
alive. I guess you aren't in military prison."
Yeah, this does the show ever get this gross? I guess it does.
It does. There are some pretty grody, nasty episodes with bugs and creatures and...
She is about to mispronounce a word that drives me crazy. She just said it's completely edemacious. The word is edematous. Edematous, as in pertaining to edemas. She's a doctor. She should know that.
Well, in Scully's defense, I didn't know that.
It's completely edemacious.
But she should know it because she's a doctor. And the person, more importantly, the person who wrote it should know it and should tell them not to say it wrong.
Oh, well, it goes back to, I don't know if I wouldn't call it age old, but your characters are only as smart as your writers. They can never be smarter than your writers.
Yeah.
Ever. So if you have a super brilliant doctor, medical doctor working for the FBI, and she's supposed to be like,
yeah, she's only
whip smart and maybe a prodigy because she's so young and she's achieved so much, and then she says edemacious. No, I'm sorry. It's like
Dustin.
I don't know, how does Fox pronounce nuclear? Does he pronounce it correctly? I'm sure he said it throughout the course of
I'm
the show.
sure he has. I have never been upset by it, so he must pronounce it correctly.
I hope so. But that's like the same thing to me. If Fox says nuclear, nope. All believability just goes right out the window.
So,
he is now in Kurzweil's apartment, where the local police have already shown up, and they're searching his apartment because he's been accused of selling child pornography or making and selling child pornography.
On his shelf right there,
which just makes him even creepier. Like just the implication.
Everything they keep tying to him is just really upsetting. Anyways, on his bookshelf, we're gonna see Kurzweil's own books, the ones he's written. The titles are The Four Horsemen of the Global Domination Conspiracy, and Countdown to the Apocalypse by himself, Alvin Kurzweil. These fiction for our world, for the real world books. But he also has some other books. I was trying to get titles of stuff on his shelf. The only one I could clearly see was a book titled Nazi Gold, which is of course conspiracy stuff about the treasures that were in Nazi Germany that the Allied forces likely stole.
You know what's weird about the whole child pornography thing in here? Like, not that it's a central plot point or anything. It's just, whatever. But I think child pornography is actually a central plot point in the second movie as well.
Really?
That's what I've heard. I haven't seen the second movie, but I remember hearing something about that. Like, it's about a Catholic priest who, maybe it's not child pornography. Maybe he's molesting kids or something like that. Huh. But yeah, we'll have to watch that. That would be weird if that came up in both movies.
Would be.
It's a really,
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
It seemed really out of place in science fiction, government conspiracy thriller.
Huh.
Whatever.
They do a lot of World War II conspiracy stuff in the show, and here we're getting into FEMA conspiracy stuff, and I don't.
This is before FEMA proved itself to be a totally
incompetent,
totally incompetent fuck up during the Katrina disaster.
Right. So I guess people didn't know about FEMA back in '98.
They were around, of course,
but I guess regular Joe Schmo didn't talk about FEMA, because they even insinuate that FEMA is the secret government that's going to take over the world.
That's what he says. And in retrospect, when you watch this, and he delivers like this super serious line, and he says, and then control of the government will turn over to FEMA, the secret government.
And I'm just like,
what?
Why FEMA?
Why FEMA?
We're insinuating that they have the organization and like intellectual capacity to be the secret government of the world.
He does talk about the hantavirus, which is a real thing.
Yeah, I looked that up a little bit. There was some kind of mini outbreak in the Southwest in '93.
Yeah, it was a real thing, and he refers to that.
Yeah, I found something about that too. The stuff that's about to take place in Dallas, I guess they're going to blame on the hantavirus at the end of this movie, because that's what they put in the newspapers.
Yeah. He doesn't even really need to talk to Kurzweil here, because if, just the fact that they saw that something was up with the bodies at the morgue. Yeah. The fact that something was up with the bodies at the morgue was enough to have them go, we probably need to get back to Dallas and, go to the FBI field office there and talk to them about, where what building those bodies came from and if there was anything else found. Because it leads them to the exact same information, where she finds the bone fragments, and then she analyzes the bone fragments and discovers that they came from the digging site where the cave was. He doesn't even need to talk to Kurzweil at all. But Kurzweil has to tells him outright, and basically tells the audience outright, go back to Dallas, because that's where the answers are. So,
yeah. Sorry, we're at the scene that bothers me, where Scully is trapped, and these military police guys are, I guess it's the regular police too, is also here, and
it's a couple of Paul Blarts and a Gomer Pyle.
What?
I'm sorry. References that you don't get, obviously. Just laugh at them, sweetheart.
Ha 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 ha. And so she's trapped in here, and he's not going to say anything about it later. Like, I'm concerned for her safety right now.
He's like, well, get out of there. See you soon. Bye.
He's the one who got her into this situation. Also, he's always making her do autopsies and stuff when she doesn't want to.
He woke her up to cut into a dead body.
And if I can find it, where is it? There's an episode called Bad Blood that is one of my favorite episodes. And I can't find. Anyway, so this episode, though, in that episode, he makes her do an autopsy that she doesn't really want to do. It's this great episode where they go back and forth and tell two different versions of the same story, where Mulder has killed somebody that he thinks is a vampire, and they debate whether or not it actually is a vampire. And it's a really great episode. It's really funny. But
so the end of scene. Did you? So the soldier walks in. Scully's hiding under the thing. End of scene. Now they're on an airplane going to Dallas.
Well, he's on an airplane. She isn't there yet.
She's about to
not
show
coming.
up. So I guess she's fine.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Really weird.
Is we don't say anything. We don't see her get out.
You ruin a really great opportunity to show like an escape scene, like Scully being really resourceful and crafty and getting out of that situation.
Thinking of something clever to do to distract them. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
but instead it's like, no, she gets out. She's fine.
Yeah. Oh, I found it. So it's season 5, episode 12, where they tell these different versions of the same story, where we really see the characterization.
They do a Rashomon episode.
Oh, right. Yes,
Rashomon
exactly.
episode,
Yes. Yeah. Where it's the same story, but from different people's perspectives. One from Dana's, one from Fox. And it's really funny because it shows so much of what they think of each other and the things about each other that irritate them. And one of the things that is apparent in her version is she's so tired of him telling her to come on and come do this crazy thing that he wants to do. And by the way, I'm going to go investigate stuff and have an adventure, and you stay and do an autopsy, please. And that happens in this movie too, where he's just like, okay, I brought you to this place, do an autopsy, and then figure out how to get out. Have fun.
Mulder's a dick.
He can be.
He can be. He's an a-hole, but maybe he's not 100%,
Not 100% a dick.
So they find the bone fragments here. This is what I was talking about. The fact that Mulder went to see Kurzweil was totally useless. And they come back to the Dallas field office, and the director of this office, I guess it's the director of this FBI field office, says that they found bone fragments in the building that came from a dig site, or the site where the facility was, where the little boy fell through
Right.
at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So that's going to lead Mulder and Scully out here to the facility. Oh, but first we have to have the scene where what's his name? What's the actor's name? Dale from The Walking Dead. It's so disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is either. I don't even know what his name is in this movie. So
It's a German name. There's a lot of German in this movie. A lot of German
again,
names.
like I said, they do a lot of World War II stuff in the show, and they're always dealing with Germans, and they also do a lot of Cold War stuff.
Braunschweig is his name, and he's played by Jeffrey DeMunn. That's his name.
So this whole vaccine thing, they keep talking about a vaccine. It's a vaccine to purity, to the black oil alien slime that infects people, and we see that the chest burster has made its appearance.
Not the first, not the last, rather, reference to Alien that we're gonna get in this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of hard to make an alien movie without referencing Alien. But so this vaccine was made by the Russians, and at one point Mulder was infected with this black slime. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
He was in Russia running around with Krychek, this jerk who he's always paired up with, that is usually working with the cigarette smoking man, and actually has a lot to do with this black oil stuff. So it's kind of his absence in this movie. Unless he's dead. Is he dead? I don't think he's dead. So if he's not dead, then his absence in this movie is really weird because he has a big part to play. Or did they lock him up in some hole somewhere? I don't remember.
I have no idea.
Anyways, Mulder got infected with this black oil stuff, and he got the vaccine, so he was okay. They were testing on him, the Russians.
So he's got a sedative here. Is this the sedative,
Yeah,
or is it the vaccine? This is the one he's using. But he was given this vaccine by the cigarette smoking man.
What,
Right?
this guy?
Right. Yes, this guy.
I guess, I mean, he works for the cigarette smoking
He
man.
works for the cigarette smoking man
So
because
he
the cigarette
just- he
smoking
just
man
has this
was
vaccine.
there. But the cigarette smoking man is working for the
syndicate.
syndicate, which you were referring to as the above the government or above the gov.
Yeah,
group.
above the gov group, the syndicate. Yeah, these guys work for the syndicate too. I'm assuming they're all
Yeah.
working for. That's why they have the vaccine, is because they.
So he's going to administer this vaccine, which I guess doesn't work, or maybe it's the same vaccine that Mulder gets later, but you have to give it to someone who hasn't gestated.
Yeah.
Hasn't gestated yet.
Yeah, well,
Because they call it a weak vaccine.
The well manicured man says it has to be administered in what 96
hours. Or something like that.
Yeah. Why do they lock him in here?
Because he's been infected, I guess. Right?
I guess it's
So-
in their claws then.
I guess they just assume that if he's had contact with this thing, that he's going to get infected by it, or he's beyond help and he's dead. So they've got to cover it up. I don't know. That doesn't bother me so much that they're like, well, this one's fucked. Better move on.
Move on with our lives.
So all of the really exotic locations that they do for this great, grand movie on a huge scale is actually all just Los Angeles. This England, this is just LA. And later on they go to Antarctica, and I think that's just like Toronto or something like that, or it's somewhere in Canada. Yep. They wanted to actually go to England. They wanted to show a lot more locations and not revisit the same places that they usually do, because that's something that they do in the show. And they, it's a movie, it's bigger, it's better, it's grander, it's Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they actually just LA.
That's too bad.
So we're leading to a scene,
Which is going to be our point of discussion for a large part of the rest of this movie.
Basically, it's going to set up every single would you even call them plot holes? It's going to set up every single contrivance and unanswered question and problems. Just generally a lot of problems that it establishes for the rest of the movie. And we'll get into all of those, but it's all basically centered around the motivations of the syndicate organization, the motivations of the well-manicured man, this older gentleman right here, and the motivations of the cigarette-smoking man, which seem to be in accord with the syndicate throughout the movie. Although the well-manicured man has some conflict with them, it appears. So that's
Well,
what we get from the scene.
the feeling I get from this scene is that the well-manicured man is having a power struggle with this guy, Strughold, they call him?
Yes. Who I guess is the leader of the syndicate, or he's a higher ranking member or something.
I guess. And I've seen the well-manicured man throughout the show. And, of course, CSMs. And this guy here with the memorable face in the background. With the big face.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the show a lot. This Strughold guy, maybe he is? I don't remember him. But I get the sense that power is shifting to this guy. And because they're irritated at him they're irritated at the well-manicured man for being late. Because his grandkid broke his leg, which is I guess that was intentional, because later we're gonna get some reasons as to why he's, I guess, betraying the syndicate.
Okay.
And that's why we see his grandkids, because they're part of the reason he's betraying the syndicate.
It's a sympathy thing. But basically we learn two things here, and that is that the alien virus has mutated, and it, I guess, needs humans to gestate, and
right, that the humans are hosts.
Humans are hosts for the virus. So in order for this alien to reproduce and populate the planet, it's got to kill humans in the process.
Right.
Like that's just in the natural
Chest
course of
burster.
things. Chest burster. Right. Exactly. So, they've learned this, and what they're going to do is they're going to let the aliens know that they know that
Right. Well,
about this,
before
and the way they're going to do that is by giving them an infected human, by handing over an infected human and saying, and that's their message, saying, we know that what you're up to. You're trying to take over the planet, or you're going to have to take over the planet to do what you want to do. So maybe that they can barter with them, or
the thing is, I've never really understood even the show exactly, because they don't tell us right out exactly what the intentions of the aliens are. They're coming to colonize Earth, but why does the Syndicate think they're safe? The Syndicate thinks they're safe because they think they're not going to be part of the slave race of humans, which is infected by the virus, and they're going to preside over them. Or the Syndicate, because they're making a virus, I also get the feeling that they're trying to protect the human race, that they're or at least save themselves from getting the virus and becoming slave people.
I guess I think it's a lot more straightforward than that. I think it is the aliens want to reproduce. In order to do that, they have to kill humans. Therefore, their goals.
No, I mean before they learned about the reproducing.
Oh, in the show, you
thing.
mean?
Yeah. Like, I'm saying that I don't know why the Syndicate is working with the aliens.
I don't know. Maybe they think that they will have a place in this new world.
Right. Or
because Strughold did say something about, like, where their place would be in this world.
Our role in the
new world. But then they talk about Mulder, and they say that Mulder has been snooping around and talking to Kurzweil, and they're like, oh no, Kurzweil's a hack, but Mulder believes him, so he's going to dig even deeper.
And then we get our important info.
Right. They ask whether or not they should kill Kurzweil and Mulder, and the well-manicured man says, no, if you kill him, then you'll turn one man's quest into a crusade, basically making a martyr out of him and maybe validating the things that he's been researching and investigating. So instead, they say that they're going to take the thing that is most precious to him, take the thing that he can't live without, and basically kill his motivation in the process.
And camera
cuts to Scully.
Right.
So they've decided to take Scully, which they do later on. That is what they do. They take Scully, and their two goals that we learn in the scene, where they are going to hand over an infected human and take away Scully, are accomplished by, basically killing two birds with one stone by making Scully that person that they hand over to the aliens that's infected. How all of that happens is just ridiculous. Just one ridiculous contrivance after another. So we've just missed the scene here, but they went out to the dig site. The dig site was gone. It was in the middle of the desert, of course, outside the neighborhood.
Cleverly covered up.
So cleverly covered up by a huge patch of bright green grass in the middle of the desert and a playground. And of course, Mulder's like, hey, what the hell is that? What the hell is green grass doing in the desert? Then they walk over and they lift it up, and it's like AstroTurf, or you know.
And then they meet the kids, and from the beginning of the movie, and,
right, and the
kids give them
which
a
way they
little
went.
information. I love this moment here, where Mulder says, "I think they're at a crossroad," and Mulder says, "I think they went left. We should go left." And Scully says, "I think they went right," and they go straight. And they go down the middle because they're a team and they work together. And this is like the most feel-good moment in the movie, because the music's about to ramp up and we're going to hear the X-Files theme.
It's the most cinematic the score, I think, really gets in the movie, because the rest of the score is very ambient and kind of, appropriately.
I still love this moment. It gives me chills hearing the
so
X-Files
in this
theme
crossfade right here that's about to happen, the two roads in the two different shots make an X.
Oh, they do.
There it is.
Look
right
at that.
there. Oh, isn't that stupid?
No, it's cute.
As the theme, swells and the theme is incorporated into the score.
It's really
it's
it's a nice moment.
It is.
I like
it's
it.
nice.
And Mulder also makes a point of saying that he's never been wrong about driving and that they should go left. And actually, he is right. He's correct that they should go left, because the tankers are going to come from the left. So that means that he would have been right. But if he hadn't listened to Scully and decided to go straight, then they probably would have missed them.
So they talked about Kurzweil being a hack, being a what they call him, a toiler, and conspiracy theorist, that nobody believes him. So I guess the syndicate sent the local police to shut Kurzweil up, even though he's a hack and no one believes him.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, why? Why do they even care?
I don't know, because he's meddling.
Because writing. That's why
They're gonna kill him, anyways.
they are. We get the impression that that he gets killed, but.
Yeah.
This scene right here is interesting because there was actually behind Mulder in this shot. There were supposed to be they're not supposed to be, but they shot this where street lights were visible, and they're supposed to be out in the middle of nowhere. And apparently, they had to be digitally removed.
The streetlights.
Yes. So it cost something like 24 frames per second, about $1,000 per frame.
Oh my gosh.
So it's about a $25,000 per second mistake.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Also, it's really, really convenient that his second hunch led them exactly where they needed to be, where the train tracks. Where the train would cross and he would see the two tankers that they were after. It's the second Mulder hunch that has allowed them to progress the story.
We can just assume that he's a superhero.
He's Jesus. He's got to be Jesus.
The whole thing that we're hinging on here too, that we didn't talk about it yet, but that the syndicate believes that he will crumple and stop working if Scully is taken away from him.
It's a big assumption.
It is a big assumption because Mulder's whole character is based upon the fact that his sister was taken away from him when he was a little kid, and that's the whole reason he does everything. Well,
but the writers
he gets into government conspiracy stuff later, but
the writers validate this assumption when Mulder starts saying stuff like, "I can't do this without you, Scully.
Right.
I can't do this without you."
But she was abducted earlier in the show. In the second season, Dana gets abducted.
And he didn't know if she would come back.
And he didn't. That's when he got paired up with Krychek, the guy who becomes a problem for him throughout the show. One of the guys, and he is convinced that he has to find her. It just makes him. Yeah, he goes through
Those look like
some
boobs.
weird depression stuff.
Those look like boobs. I'm gonna latch on to
They
that 'cause
do.
there are no boobs in this movie.
They do look like boobs.
So I'm gonna say
glowing boobs.
I'm gonna say, "Hey, boobs," right there. the boobies in the distance.
But I mean, his sister's abduction really made him. It motivates a lot of what he does. So taking Scully away.
Also, how do you put a cornfield in a movie about aliens and you don't do crop circles?
True.
How do you do that? What the hell are you thinking?
They do the corn thing a lot in the show.
Oh, really? There's a lot of corn.
Yeah.
Hey, boobs.
They're not boobs.
They look like big glowing boobies. Yeah, this whole sequence leads to a couple of things that are just kind of ridiculous and unbelievable on a couple of different levels. But it does lead to one of the better scenes in the movie, I think. One of the cooler scenes in the movie inside one of these domes.
Yeah, it is. This is my favorite scene in the movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's a really cool shot.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really cool.
It's really cool. The bee thing has come up a lot already because, there in the fourth season, there was this whole thing where, I think it was the premiere episode maybe, where Mulder runs into clones of his sister that are children, so they look like his sister did when she was a child, and he winds up getting trapped in a gigantic beehive trying to escape from this guy, and the bee thing, there's a Skinner episode that has to do with bees killing people, and the bees and the corn and the clones and all that and the black oil, they're all connected in this conspiracy. This movie just kind of tied it all together nicely, but then also just confused things a lot more by having a bunch of plot holes, which I don't understand.
So Mulder talks to Kurzweil later, and he talks about what the point of all of this is right here with the domes and the crops and the bees that are going to come out. And that's another thing that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I think he mentions it to Kurzweil. But the point of all this ends up being that the corn crops have been modified. Their pollen has been modified to carry the virus. And these bees are here so that they will carry the modified and infected pollen to other corn crops, and that's how they infect the population. This shot right here was actually in the trailer without the bees.
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't want to give it away. They wanted the excitement because there's not a whole bunch of action in this movie.
Yeah.
But they wanted the cool action shot, but they didn't want to give it away, so they took the bees out. They used 3,000 actual bees
Oh, wow.
for the shot, and then they filled in the rest with CG. But that shot right there was in the trailer without the bees.
So here's where problems start.
It is. And
We
I
are
was saying that,
supposed
so
to-
I'll just leave that there with the pollination.
Right.
Pollination?
Also, I would be taking my clothing off. My clothing would be coming off and I would be shaking it
Come
furiously.
on, they're not ready for that level of sexual tension in this show. That
There
would
is a scene in the show where she is
poor
where
little
she is
X-Files head
stripped
explode.
down to underwear, and he's like looking for bug bites on her for I don't remember what the reason
checking
is.
her for ticks.
No, there's a reason. It's something supernatural, I'm sure. But
So this scene is kind of what they're being chased by helicopters. It's a little bit reminiscent of North by Northwest, a little bit, which Martin Landau is also in. How about that?
how about that?
You haven't seen North by Northwest, have you?
Oh no, actually, I did. I
The
saw
crop
it.
duster scene from
Yeah,
North by
yeah.
Northwest
No, I
with
know what
Cary
you're
Grant.
talking about.
It's a little bit
And he's
reminiscent
running,
of that, and
yes.
Martin Landau is also in that movie, so that's kind of a interesting little tie-in. I don't know if it's valid, but
These are supposed to be black helicopters.
they are. They look kind of gray. Maybe they are black,
I guess so.
but they are chased around. So there's I guess we're meant to assume that the helicopters know they're there, and they're chasing them, and then the helicopters just kind of disappear.
I guess the helicopters are just supposed to scare them and sort of make them leave. But
Is that what it is?
I guess so. I guess they're just like hurting them and trying to make them leave and scare them.
Huh. Okay. I guess if that's the point,
Because-
then they do their job.
Kurtzweil says later, he's like, if they didn't want you to leave, then you wouldn't have left. They don't make mistakes. So clearly they're doing this for a reason. If they wanted to find them and capture them, then they would.
Their motivations aren't
impression I
really
get.
known right now for the helicopters and all that stuff, though. So that's kind of strange, and you never really learn why they did it. All you hear from Kurzweil is that they don't make mistakes. So they pulled out the helicopters for a reason, but who knows why?
Where did they go?
Where did they go? That's a really good question. Always Scully with the good questions. So yeah, like if you're meant to believe that they were chasing them, and they stopped chasing them because they decided that they didn't need to chase them anymore because Scully has a bee on her person right now.
Right. That's what we're supposed to believe. We are supposed to believe that through all of that,
She's now in Washington, D.C. at the Office of Professional Review, and she has just flown on a plane from Dallas. She was just in Dallas, so she hasn't bathed, she hasn't taken off her clothes or anything
these people
like that.
don't sleep also.
Yes,
I don't
they
think
never
they sleep at all in this movie.
I don't think they sleep at all. The one time that she tried to, she was woken up
Right.
by a drunk Mulder looking for something. And we're meant to believe that she flew on a plane from Dallas to Washington, D.C. with a bee in her clothes. And now he's about to talk to Kurzweil about the bees and the pollination and carrying the corn crops and infecting the human population, all that kind of stuff. And this cross cuts back and forth between him having this conversation and Scully in the professional review office, with the bee like crawling around on her clothes and crawling up under her collar. And this is during the day. You can see the sunlight like coming in through the windows. And then later at night, she is at Mulder's apartment,
and is going to get stung by
and
the bee.
that's when the bee stings her.
Right. So that bee crawls around and chills out on her clothes, taking like a little bee nap for like 24 hours while she's running
And
through
doesn't die.
cornfields,
Doesn't die.
boarding planes, and going through
Doesn't get
security.
crushed. Doesn't sting her. Just hides. Just
It's sleeping.
sleeps. It's sleeping.
It's taking a bee nap. And see, here it woke up. It woke up from his bee nap. It's crawling around. It's gonna go back to sleep. They knew it was gonna happen. The syndicate
I think the bee
knows
thing-
what the bee is thinking.
I think they're robot bees. That's what it is.
Robot.
They're
bees.
controlling them with like very
Little
tiny remote controls.
remote controls. For one little robot bee. Kurzweil says here he was talking to Mulder, and he said that it was all a transportation system, the corn and the bees and stuff. He said, Mulder suggests that it's a transportation system, transgenic crops, the pollen genetically altered to carry a virus. But why does that mean that the bees have the virus?
I was just about to say that because when Scully gets stung, she's infected with the virus. That's how it happens. But
I thought he was saying the pollen had the virus.
yeah, that's the point of having the combination of the crops and the bees. Is you raise the bees, you have a whole swarm of Africanized bees that will carry great deals of pollen away from the corn crops that have modified pollen to carry the virus, so that they can pollinate. Is it pollinate? Yes, it's pollinate. Pollinate other corn crops and therefore infect the population when they eat the corn.
Specifically corn?
Well, that's how that's got to work.
Okay.
Okay.
But bees also have the virus.
Apparently. So what's the why? I don't understand. So they make bees with the virus and the corn crops have the virus
Or maybe the corn
just
doesn't
to
have
be
the
sure?
virus. I don't know.
Or maybe the bees have the virus, and when they
I'm more concerned about
collect
how this
pollen,
bee.
that doesn't make it. No, because it doesn't make sense, because they had to modify the pollen to carry the virus. That's what Kurzweil said, I guess, or Mulder said. They said it in the conversation. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so here, it doesn't matter because there are more important things that don't make sense later. But so here is our romantic scene between Scully and Mulder.
The almost kiss.
They almost kissed in the hallway. It's
bad.
Yeah.
Jessica, it's bad.
Look, I want
It is
Scully and Mulder
so-
to get together just as much
it is
as
so
the next
convenient, because
X-Files
the
fan.
thing, what stops them from kissing?
That she gets stung by the bee. I told you it's a robot bee.
she gets stung-
The syndicate is controlling its thoughts. They've got a little tiny remote. And they just wait because they want Mulder to almost kiss her, and then
So
that's the moment when he's going to be the saddest.
She has an invincible bee chilling out in her clothes
He's taking a nap.
that has impeccable timing.
Yeah.
Impeccable
well,
timing.
impeccable dramatic timing.
Impeccable dramatic timing.
This
yes,
bee
exactly.
is versed in I'm done. It's really stupid.
It's too stupid to even talk about.
I don't know why. This whole scene here, first we have this sudden lack of confidence from Scully, which I don't get, where she comes in and she's like, you've never needed me. I've been holding you back from the very beginning. And it's like, but you've never, she's not an inconfident character. She's not one to think that she knows she's saved his ass many, many times. And then Mulder gets suddenly sentimental and also out of character for him, where he's saying all this stuff about, you've kept me honest and made me a whole person.
You
And
complete me.
I owe you everything and you owe
Scully,
me nothing.
You complete me.
And it's not that these things aren't true. It's just a little bit strange.
It is strange.
Because it's kind of out of there. These are two moments where she's suddenly incompetent and he's suddenly sentimental. And those are two things that those characters are not. She is extremely confident and he is extremely detached from everything. So much so that he doesn't see it in moments when she is feeling a little romantic toward him. And he doesn't notice it because he's thinking about aliens and shit. So
I don't know. It's so dumb.
they just wanted to put an almost kiss in. That's what they wanted.
That's
They
all.
just
They wanted to put an
kiss
almost
and-
kiss because it's a Hollywood movie.
But I love this. I love the way she reacts to the bee sting, though, where she just starts
This is in character.
listing all the
Yeah.
medical things that are happening to her.
Yeah.
Funny taste in the back of my throat. Yeah. It's so Scully.
So she says she has no allergy. Now, he calls 911, and the ambulance is going to come. Now,
I can believe that
Well,
they intercepted the call.
the lone gunman in the next scene where Mulder's in the hospital say that they did intercept the call. Were they waiting for this to happen? Did they orchestrate the bee being in her clothes and waiting for it to sting her so that he could call 911 so that they could intercept the call and then come pick her up?
And
or-
they've just been chilling
or-
for 24 hours.
Or are they
Just
just
with an
are they
ambulance
just
ready?
are they just monitoring Mulder and there's some panic going on behind the scenes? They're like, oh, he's calling the police. He's calling 911. Intercept the call right now. All right, send an ambulance out. All right, we're gonna pick up Scully. And then the guy from the beginning of the movie, poor
And here Mulder just
poor,
got shot.
poor pockmarked guy, just shot Mulder in the head. I thought taking Scully was the alternative to killing Mulder.
The thing that we're going to come to here, the conclusion that I've come to, is that we are missing a scene. There's a scene of this movie. The only way stuff makes sense is that there is a scene that took place after the syndicate scene where we saw already, where the well manicured man and the cigarette smoking man and then the new guy were all together, and they decided to not kill Mulder but take Scully. There's a scene that happens after that with the same people.
There must be.
Where they change their mind.
Where they decide to take Scully
And
kill
kill
Mulder
Mulder.
anyway.
Yes. There is a scene after that where they change their mind, and they just don't let us know.
There's got to be a scene. You're not saying there is a scene, but there should be a scene there.
Right.
That's the only way
well,
that
it's
makes
the only
sense.
way it makes sense, because that's what has happened, and we'll when it comes to it later, we'll explain more in detail why that's has to be the case. But we're supposed to believe the when we see the bad guys, when we see the syndicate talking, we're supposed to believe what they're saying.
Right.
Because it's
Because
that
they're talking in
age-old theatrical
confidence. Well,
thing.
I mean, they're talking in confidence with one another.
Right,
Like, that's,
and because it's a tool to create tension. It's a tool to create tension that you give your audience more information than your main characters have. We don't know, or we know, but Mulder doesn't know that the bad guy's around the corner. We know, so we can sit there and go, no, Mulder, no, don't go. But that's the point. And if you're just lying to us in those scenes, then you totally take away.
Here's the lone gunman.
The Lone Gunmen are my favorite characters in the X-File.
They are totally ripped off in Buffy the Vampire
yes,
Slayer.
absolutely.
But Joss Whedon probably said, "I like those characters. I'm putting them in my show too."
Well, I don't know though what came first.
X-Files.
But the Lone Gunmen, well, I guess.
When did they show
When
up?
did Evil Trio show up?
I don't know.
remember when.
I don't
the Evil,
remember.
I don't remember what year it would have been that Evil Trio. But I guess the Lone Gunmen were here first. But
They are pretty great, and they're so great that they got their own show for one season that totally
I
failed.
did not know that, and I am so excited about that
We
now.
need to track that down.
I am so excited to watch that. We get the Lone Gunman's backstory back in season 5, episode 3, called "Unusual Suspects," where we learn how they all became friends and began to believe in government conspiracy because of this one attractive woman who they meet, who's on the run, and they become friends with Mulder, and they are pretty much the reason, or one of the major reasons, why Mulder starts to believe in government conspiracy. He wasn't this guy until he met them.
It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope of believing.
When
in
these guys met,
silly business.
Byers and Frohicke and Langley, when they met, two of them were selling
this
stolen
guy looks
cable,
like Huey Lewis.
and one was working for the FCC. Do you know what Byers' full name is?
Nope.
John Fitzgerald Byers.
Oh, how about that? You get it? Because
yeah, JFK.
And that's all we get of the lone gunman. So
I don't know how they knew he was there.
for all of exactly, they don't know how I don't know how they knew he was there. Not only that, but for all of the exposition and dialogue that this movie indulges in order to relay information to the audience so that it can catch them up on character motivations and stuff and allow this to be a standalone film for those kind of viewers. What the hell could they have possibly thought about these three weird looking dudes?
Yeah,
showing
I
up?
try and I mean, like for me, I sit there and I'm like, oh my god, it's the lone gunman!
exactly.
I'm so
For
excited!
fans,
I can't!
yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh, I can't wait to. But for anyone who doesn't watch the show regularly, then it's like, who are these three weird looking guys who just popped up and gave Mulder clothes and then left? Yeah, right. Harry Kurzweil's about to get abducted.
Not by aliens.
No, by the government. By the above the gov, by the syndicate.
The well-manicured man.
And what's about to happen, we have done before. This is something I don't think you know about it, Dustin, but the whole plot that's happening here where Scully is abducted by a government group and Mulder has to do something or trust that same group to get a vaccine to save her life. We already did that. We did that specifically. Scully had we just came out of it, actually. She had a cancer storyline. Mm-hmm. In season 2, episode...
Oh, I remember when you were watching those.
Yeah, it was really unsettling.
It's kinda dark.
They were really dark episodes, yeah. Back in season 2, episode 5, 6, she's abducted by, we don't know if it's government or aliens or both. In the 3rd season, after she comes back, she finds an implant in the back of her neck and takes it out. In the 4th season, she has cancer. And she and Mulder realize that it's because of her abduction and it has to do with something they did to her. He winds up breaking into the Pentagon to get a cure. And in the end, he winds up giving her a chip that they put back into her neck and her cancer goes into remission. We get the feeling that Skinner made some kind of deal with the cigarette smoking man or something. So Mulder could do all this. But basically, it's the same thing. Like, he doesn't go in for the chip. He goes in for a vaccine. He gets a vial. Like, it's so similar to what's about to happen. It's just kind of the same storyline. She's abducted. He gets a vaccine, and he goes to save her.
So this is another thing that's kind of confusing, and I guess this plays into your missing scene theory. Who exactly is the well-manicured man working for in this scene? Is he working against the syndicate, or is he working for the syndicate? And that goes for all of the decisions he makes, because I guess we're meant to believe that when he says, and he's about to say it here in a minute, we're meant to believe that he's telling the truth when he says the syndicate sent him to kill Mulder and Kurzweil, despite the fact that I thought it was pretty well established that we didn't want to turn these. And again, these were well-manicured man's words, but I got the feeling that Strughold agreed with him and decided to take Scully as an alternative to killing Mulder and or Kurzweil. But he tells Mulder that he was sent to kill them. So instead, he's going to kill his driver, give Mulder the vaccine, and then I guess he commits suicide with a car bomb.
I mean, I guess we get this little look where we think he knows that he's about to die.
He kind of sighs before he gets in the car, and you get the feeling that it's kind of like a this is it moment.
So when I first saw this scene, because in the one scene we had with the syndicate, with the above the gov group, the well-manicured man was pissed off at them because of whatever power struggles going on.
Because they had already decided to...
Without him.
Yeah, they had already made a decision to give the aliens a human that was already infected.
He's pissed off at them, but they said, don't kill Mulder, take Scully. I assumed in this scene that he was lying to Mulder. That was how I reconciled it at first, is when he says, I was sent here to kill you, I assumed he was lying about that. Because he immediately after that says... don't trust anyone. He immediately says that afterwards. However, if he's lying, then that means he's still working for the syndicate.
Right.
He hasn't betrayed them. And the point of the lie would be to maybe confuse Mulder or something like that. I guess not just confuse us.
Yeah.
But if he was still working for them and he wasn't betraying them, then there's no reason why he would give Mulder the vaccine to save Scully and the coordinates and everything. So he has to be. We must assume that the well-manicured man is working against the government, that he's telling the truth, that he was sent here to kill Mulder. And that means that we must assume that they changed their mind. Because the last scene we saw, they said, don't kill Mulder.
But you've got to think about his end game. What is his end game? He's giving Mulder this vaccine, knowing that if he administers it to Scully while she's in the system, it will bring down the system. It will bring down the aliens, and it will end this entire thing.
Yeah, it destroys the whole ship takes off and stuff, and there's like a huge...
So the Syndicate doesn't want to stop what the aliens are doing. They just want to compromise with them, or
I guess so. They're trying to buy more time, but not piss them off.
Right. They're trying to buy more time, but if you can just get rid of them the way Mulder ends up doing, I don't know why they don't just do that. I mean, maybe it's probably a money thing. It's probably about like if the aliens can take over the world, then the Syndicate can take control of the world with them, or it have a place in the new society where they've got more power.
Right. But now they're learning that the aliens are, I guess they're not ready to give up on the hope that they can have.
So he just shot his driver. And he says, trust no one. Right after he says, I was ordered to kill you in Kurzweil. And he makes him get out of the car. And then he gets back in and commits suicide. So I guess he is working against the Syndicate in order to bring this conspiracy down. And he needs Mulder's help.
But the whole thing is so confusing because, like, why is there the bomb in the car? How did the Syndicate know that he was going to betray them?
I think he did it to himself. I think he killed himself.
Right. He knows there's a bomb in the car, but that means the Syndicate planted the bomb in the car, so the Syndicate knew that he was going to betray them.
But then he also killed Kurzweil because Kurzweil, I guess, is in the trunk.
So why did he kill Kurzweil then? If he wasn't going to kill Mulder, why did he kill Kurzweil?
I don't know. Kurzweil's just a toiler.
Yeah.
He's just a hack.
What was the point? If you're just going to not kill Mulder and go against your whole group and then kill yourself in the end.
Here's why. Because it doesn't make sense. Because who cares?
Like, the bomb in the car is a problem because why would it be there? They knew the Syndicate planted it, of course, so they knew
to
that...
destroy evidence.
They knew that he was going to betray them, but if they knew he was going to betray them... My whole thing is if the Syndicate has...
And this is the moment
so much power.
He has a little sigh and he gets in the car and the car explodes.
Maybe he didn't know. I don't know. Maybe he didn't know there was a bomb in the car, but he did say that after he gave Mulder the info that they would kill him. But if they have so much power that they could blow up his car the moment after he does this, then why don't they have the power to stop Mulder right here?
To just blow up the car right then.
Right.
Like if they can blow it up here, then why don't they blow it up like, oh, he's giving him the vaccine.
We'll blow it up now.
Yeah, kill them both. Who cares?
I don't get it. Like,
because it doesn't make sense.
Because there are so many moments where it's just like if your goal is to, or like the gunshot through the car window, if they really had decided to kill Mulder right then, how did that guy miss?
Exterior day.
I guess the lone gunman said like it ricocheted off his skull or something.
Makes progress across a frozen expanse. So we're in Antarctica.
You said something about that before, though, about the bullets ricocheting off of people's skulls. You know, someone.
I know two people. I know
who's that guy?
I know two people.
We
used to call him Chief, Master Chief.
Master Chief.
He's ranked Master Chief in the Navy.
He was sniped, right?
He was shot in the head. I know two people who have been shot in the head and survived.
Okay, personally. So that's not so strange then. But were they shot in the head point blank though?
One of them was.
Oh, okay. Well,
the
never
other
mind.
one was shot from a distance with a rifle.
Well, anyways, though.
Heavy stuff.
Why? Whatever. They decided to kill Mulder. However, the only scene we saw them talking in, they decided not to kill Mulder. So that means that if we're to believe what happened, then the Syndicate had a meeting.
I don't know. I'm done talking about it.
That we didn't see.
We have well established that the movie doesn't make sense. That the characters do not act in accord with the decisions that they seem to have made before, or their motivations aren't entirely clear. But that's kind of the point of a government conspiracy. But at the same time, like I watch this movie as someone who is incredibly incredulous of like conspiracy theory and that whole type of confirmation bias thinking. If you're gonna make a movie that's about government conspiracy, you better make sure that your script is airtight. Because if I'm skeptical and I can pick apart conspiracy theories and say this is why it doesn't make sense, this is why it's confirmation bias, this is why it's stupid, then I'm going to do the same thing with your dumb movie because none of this stuff makes sense.
This whole scene here where he's up in the snowy place makes me think of The Thing.
Yeah, the icy compound.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's masterpiece.
I
we
love
need to do
that movie.
We have
That's
to do that
such a great movie.
We got to do that for Popcorn Poops. So the cigarette smoking man just got in a snowmobile, I guess, a big snowmobile.
Was it the cigarette smoking man?
Someone else? Yeah, we see that it's a cigarette smoking man when they come back, or when they discover Mulder's vehicle right here. So I guess because two people got in a car, Mulder assumes that the facility's empty now.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, why not?
He knows exactly how many people are there at all times.
So he's just running across this
In a very dark suit.
open white landscape in a very dark parka. And then he falls through the ice and into kind of a tunnel system.
He just falls right into the spaceship, exactly where he needs to be.
Which is exactly where he needs to be. And sort of
doesn't break any bones.
Sort of reflexive of the first, or one of the first scenes of the movie when the boy falls through into the cave.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
So I guess the audience is meant to feel tension about whether or not there's going to be that black stuff down here too.
True. Well, there is.
There is, but
Lots of it. Well, in the form of the aliens that are all in the pods.
yeah, but now that I think about it, and I haven't thought about this before, if that black stuff is just kind of around and it can just move along and it's basically liquid and can get in hide in all sorts of corners and it's completely malleable and takes the form of whatever it's in, like a liquid is prone to do. I don't see why this whole facility that he's crawling into isn't just covered. Why isn't it just everywhere?
Like just dripping from the ceiling.
Yeah,
and stuff.
like he's
Well, and
he's
you also get
like
this feeling
hopeless.
that it's kind of an organic spaceship, like not totally, but
Well, we're not
that
meant
at least
to know that it's a spaceship yet, but
right. But you're gonna get this feeling that it's at least interconnected because when he injects the virus into Scully and it
it's a whole
sucks
system
through the
Yeah.
umbilical cord looking tube that's in her mouth. It affects the whole spaceship, and that's what makes it freak out and then take off. So we get the feeling it's kind of organic. So the idea of like the slime being all over the walls and everything makes sense to me. However, I think they go on to talk about heat reacting with the slime. That maybe there is slime all over the place here, but heat is a big proponent of making it do stuff.
Oh, it's an insider or something like that.
Well, like in what I have watched of the 6th season in the beginning, where are they? They're at like a power plant or something where the aliens are coming out because of the heat.
So he's looking at maybe 2 or 3 people here. I think he looks at 2 people and sees an alien. And then he walks around and we see how massive this facility is. And he walks down another hallway and he looks at about 2 or 3 other people and then finds Scully. Oh, how lucky.
So while we're going to get a bunch of Mulder walking around in an underwhelming spaceship interior, while we're doing that, I want to talk a little bit about the cigarette smoking man before we're done here.
Okay.
CSM is what I guess he's like Mulder's nemesis.
He
say?
seems to be the main villain throughout the series. He's the one who keeps coming up, right?
Repeatedly, yeah. He comes up again and again. He's also known as Cancer Man, the Smoking Man.
He has a name. He does have a name.
I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, he does.
Oh
have
well,
a name.
there is an episode where they credit some initials to him.
Yeah, 3 initials and a last name.
And a last name, yeah. But I think you just see it written somewhere. I don't know what it is. In one of the coolest episodes, one of my favorite episodes is his backstory, and it's season 4, episode 7, Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man. And we see him frame Lee Harvey Oswald and kill JFK.
Really?
Yes, CSM is the assassin of JFK.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he on the mound?
Huh?
Does he do it from the grassy knoll?
I don't remember
Okay.
where he is exactly.
That's interesting.
But so
this whole facility is like Diet H.R. Giger. It's like wannabe Alien, except not nearly as visually interesting.
It's just kind of dark and hard to see, and
that's not what makes Alien great. Like I don't know. I could complain all day about.
And then he just
everything,
sees Scully's thing sitting right there.
Yeah, he saw the
And
little
he's like,
pod.
Well, there we are. That gotta be her.
So he's about to fall right here, and he's going to say, "Oh shit!" And the "oh shit" is so distinctly, like, terribly ADR'd into the sound mix. I guess they've got to make the most of their PG-13. But
Nah.
shit.
Anyways, though, the thing about Cigarette Smoking Man that I love, though, is that you know what he really wanted to be? He didn't want to be
dancer?
No, he didn't want to be an evil assassin for the Above the Gov group. He wanted to be a writer. He wanted to be a novelist.
Oh, a man after your own heart.
In that same episode, we see him writing the novel "Take a Chance," a Jack Colquitt adventure, and then we see him. His pen name is Raoul Bloodworth. And then we see
I wonder
him,
why his dream never came true.
We see him get a really nasty rejection letter, like the kind that create nightmares. Nasty rejection letter. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, he actually gets a letter saying that a magazine is going to serialize his novel, and he gets so excited about it that he types out his resignation. And he types out his resignation letter, but then he goes and picks up an episode of the magazine, or not an episode. He goes and picks up a copy of the magazine, and he realizes that they changed the ending to his novel, and he tears up his resignation letter and sits down next to a homeless man. It's really heartbreaking, and I have
That's sad.
I have empathy for this character now. Because
Now I know why he smokes.
right?
Yeah. So let's see. This is maybe 4, 5, 6. I think one of these guys, that might be Kurzweil. Not Kurzweil. Bromschweigler. I don't know what his name is.
What?
Bromschweigler. He looks like at a grand total of about 7 people. 6 or 7 people. And there's Scully.
Well, I mean,
What luck.
you know.
It's almost as if that entire facility wasn't filled to the brim with hundreds, if not thousands, of these pods.
Yeah, we saw
So
like,
many.
I don't know what to call it. They were like hanging from the ceiling, and they were like being moved
and
throughout it on
looked like an
transporter
assembly
belts
line
and stuff.
or something. Yeah.
I mean, so many.
Very industrial looking kind of
so
thing.
many. We saw him find her necklace too.
Yes, which is a cross. Scully
was raised Catholic.
Okay,
Her
so
faith
she's
is
religious, right?
Her faith is a big part of the show. She kind of finds her faith again when she goes through the cancer thing. It's interesting because she's the skeptic, he's the believer, but she's the religious person, and he's not.
Right, and he kind of makes fun of her for
He
that,
does.
doesn't it?
He does. Yeah. He doesn't understand how.
I've heard that in real life it's actually the opposite. That Gillian Anderson actually believes in the supernatural and paranormal and stuff like that,
and he doesn't.
And David Duchovny is a skeptic.
That is such great.
Which is kind of
trivia.
perfect. There's a lot of really weird trivia surrounding the X-Files TV show that I've heard over the years. One was that Fox wanted to, again, Fox the company, not not Fox Mulder.
I would have assumed it was Mulder.
One of which is that Fox wanted Dana Scully to be more like a bombshell, like tall, blonde, and busty, really leggy.
Oh God.
They were looking at apparently Pamela Anderson
What?
to play Dana
Oh
Scully.
my God, that's awful.
That show would have been so
Oh,
bad.
it would have been so terrible. Wow.
The CG steam looks terrible in a couple of these shots. That
Her-
previous shot
her-
was one of them.
The tube that this scene is awful with him.
This is some Cronenbergian
yeah,
shit right here.
pulling the umbilical cord looking thing out of her throat.
Her gagging and stuff. That's awful.
Anyways, her necklace was given to her by her mom at Christmas when she was 15.
an
An
appropriate
identical
time.
one was given to her sister who was murdered in the show.
It's an appropriate way to celebrate the birth of Christ. Here, have the symbol of his execution and brutal death.
Mulder held on to that necklace when Scully was abducted back in season 2, and he held on to it and he gave it back to her when he found her again,
That's cute.
when they reunited. So him having the necklace, finding it for her again is a callback
I have
to
a feeling
their
that
relationship in the show.
the way they develop their relationship, if you can even call it a romantic relationship in the show, I assume that eventually it becomes a romantic relationship, but I don't know for sure.
I don't know either. I mean, I hope it does, but where I am, it still isn't.
It seems
so.
much more deftly handled in the show.
It is.
Whereas in this, you get an almost kiss scene, which is just. Have they had an almost kiss in the show? Almost.
No.
No.
There was this one weird episode where this guy looked like Mulder. How did that happen?
Oh, the
I forget.
shapeshifter episode.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I watched.
And
with you.
he looked like Mulder, and he wooed Scully. Like,
yeah, she was like, "I'm down."
And they were sitting in her house having a bottle of wine and sitting on the couch together. And I think they start making out, and Mulder walks in on him, and he's like, "What the hell?"
If anything, that informs the audience that Dana Scully is DTF with Mulder.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it didn't take much, and it wasn't even suave Mulder. But I guess that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that
is
guy was
he's
kinda
not-
awkward,
Yeah,
right?
the point, though, is that Mulder is not suave. And
So-
they had a really awkward moment in the hallway afterwards where he's just like, he can't believe that she was about to have sex with him, but not him.
So he's got Scully in his arms. He's trying to climb out of this facility. All of the workers, including the cigarette smoking man and Pockmark Face, have all escaped, and they're driving away on their snowmobiles. And the aliens are hatching from the pods, or I guess the ones that were ready to come out.
Scully is conveniently unconscious for most of this, so that she won't be accountable for remembering these things, remembering that there are aliens
Yes.
and spaceships and etc. When season 6 starts and she has to go into hearings and certify the things that he's saying he saw, she can't because she never lies. Well, actually, I think she did lie one time. Or at least she wouldn't give up some info that she knew. But she's usually really, even if it goes against what he's trying to prove, what they're trying to prove, ultimately, she won't lie about what she saw. And she's going to say that she didn't see any of this. She's going to say, Mulder, I don't know what I saw.
So I'm torn on this scene.
That's irritating.
So he gives her CPR right here. I'm torn on this scene because my knee-jerk reaction is giving her CPR is fan service, because the fans are like,
Their lips
are
touched.
it's basically a kiss, right? It's like kissing, right? But at the same time, I think him giving her CPR while surrounded by these aliens that are about to hatch is like an amazing tension builder.
You know what? I had you big time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Call back to a
It's
not
nice.
very good joke to begin with, but
No,
okay.
but I think it's fun, though. I think it's fun. It's cute.
It is. Their relationship is cute. That's a good way to describe it. It's cute. Harmless. But what were you going to say?
I don't know.
Something about the
I was going to
CPR?
say about the CPR that, yeah, I didn't even think about it being fan service because that scene had me with the tension where I was like, oh, the aliens are going to get out of the pods and she's got to wake up. Oh, God. Scully, why are you dying right now?
So apparently David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson ship their own characters pretty hard.
Yeah, that's what you've told me.
I'm not going to say for sure on the record that I know that they've been having an affair, but that's like a rumor that's been going on for some time. I guess last year at Comic-Con they did some kind of reunion, and one of the questions they got was something along the lines of what would Mulder and Scully do if they went on a for real date? And Gillian Anderson's response, like right off the bat, was have sex. And then David Duchovny says, and then maybe dinner.
That's cute.
So the two of them, I mean, obviously they've, they think the same way about their characters that most fans do.
Are they married? Is he or she married?
I don't know.
He was married, right?
He was married to Tia Leone, but
Is she married?
actually there's an episode of the X-Files where when he's at the same time that he was married to Tia Leone, there's a line in one of the X-Files episodes where he says something like, why would Tia Leone be attracted to me or have a crush on me? How could Tia Leone have a crush
I
on
don't know
me?
who
Because
Tia Leone
she's an
is.
actress. But it was kind of a reference to the fact that he's married to her in real life.
Right.
I don't know what the context was.
Anyways, what I'm saying though is that I think it would be incredibly difficult to be in a relationship with someone in a TV show for years and not have an actual relationship. Like, because to act well, you have to fool your head into believing it.
I mean, unless you just don't like each other and you
Well,
have
right,
to work
right.
together, but yeah, that's got to.
But if you are
that's
friends,
got to be tough, right?
And it's hard to believe that two actors wouldn't wind up having, even if it didn't last, which it often doesn't, as I understand, in Hollywood. I
But
love
you
that
kinda-
scene where they
but
slide
you
off
do-
the spaceship.
I mean, like when you think about how long these people were together every day, playing characters who have this weird are they or aren't they, will they or won't they kind of thing going on. You can understand, I guess, in some way how or why Hollywood relationships are kind of so fragile.
yeah.
How I mean, I don't understand how I could be David Duchovny, and if I liked Gillian Anderson as a person, spending nearly every day with her for over the course of 9 years and having to pretend to be emotionally connected to her and emotionally invested in her,
Not actually.
I don't see how I wouldn't fall in love with her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course. Well, I mean, my mom did a lot of theater when she was younger. And
Of course, Scully
and
does not see the UFO.
Of course she doesn't. And I did a lot of theater too. And my mom and I used to talk about how, in theater, when you're acting opposite someone just for the length of a show, not anything close to this, where this is years and years of your life, but just for the length of a few months or a couple months even that goes into putting on a show, you can fall in love with the person you're acting opposite of. You just fool yourself into thinking you are. Because you have to pretend. So, and of course it often is not real in the end because they're not really that character and you're not really the person you're pretending to be. But which is like you said, I think a lot of why Hollywood relationships are so fragile is because when they're not on TV together anymore and they got to go home and do laundry together and stuff, then they learn that, wow, he's not actually as suave as Mulder is, and that's kind of not so fun anymore when we're trying to decide what to watch.
David Duchovny
on a Friday
farts.
night.
Imagine that. Mulder doesn't fart. He doesn't.
Right.
He's not scripted to fart, so he doesn't fart. But David Duchovny farts. I promise, he does. Dana Scully doesn't fart. Gillian Anderson does.
Is that what we're breaking it down to, is farts?
That's what it is. I mean, well, that's like the ultimate in like humanizing.
Is farting.
Yeah, that's the ultimate in what makes us human.
I think you're just kind of obsessed with it. So
That's what makes us human.
It's-
Our intelligence, our dexterity,
God,
farting. That's it. The big three.
yep.
So this guy,
Look, it
this
says catalog on it. The stuff was easily referenced and cataloged, right?
The shady looking dude just took the bone fragments, so he's getting rid of the evidence. Little too late, but that's okay. They're cleaning up, doing damage control, I guess. And the board of review, Blythe Danner's character here is talking about how she can't reconcile things in Scully's report with what they understand to be real life, I guess. There's not evidence for it. She doesn't think that she can justify the things that are being said because there isn't evidence for it. But we do see that the syndicate is having all the corn crops destroyed, and they're completely tearing down their operation.
The glowing boobs are gone.
The glowing boobs, unfortunately. Rest in peace, glowing boobies.
Glowing bee-filled boobs.
Ugh. Oh, that's awful.
It's good imagery, right? You like it?
I do. Cronenbergian.
And then Dana is going to give a beat. Look, the lone gunmen are the only ones who provided any hard evidence in this whole thing.
Yep.
They're the ones who picked it up.
And no one even knows who they are.
No one even knows who they are.
If you've never seen the X-Files and you watch this, you're like, who are those three dudes that were the most useful people?
Right, they're the only ones who got any hard evidence. You know, one thing that drives me nuts about the show, and of course about this movie too, I know it's not now. I know that everybody doesn't have a smartphone on them with like an HD camera attached to the side of their skull, 24/7. But really, as FBI agents, they don't just have a camera that is small enough to carry with them. Just a regular camera, just a regular ass camera. They don't have one. They don't take it with them when they go into alien spaceships.
I don't know.
I mean, seriously, if they just had a camera,
because Mulder had to go all the way to Antarctica,
right?
If he just had the foresight to be like,
you know what?
disposable
I'm just
camera,
gonna
I'm gonna take
pick
this
up
disposable
a
flash camera,
right,
from the store, just
snap a few,
Click.
a few.
Click.
I
That's the
mean,
sound of the wheel. If you didn't know,
A video camera, even think about what that would do.
yeah.
And this is before people were really.
This is before the age of Photoshop and
Right.
After Effects. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he had video of this stuff, and they're FBI agents, they couldn't get like a cool little 007 camera, The lone gunman couldn't make him something that was small and portable and not 90s-ish. Really? It would solve all the problems. He'd be like, I'm telling you that there were spaceships. Look here, just look, watch, see?
There was
Oh, wow, yeah, there were.
the newspaper that Mulder was reading. If you pause and you read it closely, which I wouldn't recommend doing because you'll mess up the sync if you're watching this with the movie right now. But if you pause and you read the article closely, it actually says that 5 people died from the hantavirus. They blame it on the hantavirus, and they say that 5 people died. So would that be
The firemen, how many firemen was it? 3?
3? Oh, I guess 4 went down there. Oh, yeah, it would be 5. So the little boy and 4 firemen. Yeah, that's right.
But I thought we blamed their deaths on the explosion.
I guess. I don't know. All the other articles surrounding it are just copy-pasted. Like, they all say the same thing. So
really?
If you pay attention to them. I wrote down all that I could read, but it says something like, while he amended the compromise into a bill that would have required a minimum of 5-cent refundable deposit, the Assembly and the Senate will be the first-time buyers. In brief, the compromise calls for blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just a bunch of nonsense. The location stamp that we get right here is... Did it already pass? Did we miss it? Oh, there
no,
it is.
here it is.
So
Tatooine?
exactly.
What?
Foam Tatooine. Foam Tatooine is a real place in Tunisia.
In Tunisia.
Where they shot all of the Tatooine stuff for Star Wars, and obviously that's where its name comes from, where the planet Tatooine
I
gets
guess
its
so.
name.
Huh.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Pretty cool. And this scene right here actually confirms something that fans argue about. I don't know if you care that much. I care a little bit because I've got weird compulsions about this kind of thing.
Okay, and what's that?
Whether or not the X-Files is spelled X hyphen files
Ah, yeah, that's
or
important.
X space files.
Right.
Because all of the official logos for the X-Files say the and files in a smaller font, and the X is usually large and stylized, and there's no hyphen. But when it's not stylized and it's just written out as a hyphen intended to be there. Now, on IMDb, both the films and the TV series are listed as X space files. On Wikipedia, it's X hyphen files.
Right. That's how I usually type it, is with a hyphen.
However, in this shot right here, or not this shot, but in this scene, we're about to see the telegram that says that the X-Files has been reopened. The telegram types it out as X hyphen files right there. X-Files reopened. X hyphen files. And in the credits, it is also credited as X hyphen files. And in this final shot, we can see that the boobies have been resurrected.
Oh, look, and there's more of them.
More.
There's more.
And the corn crops. There are even more corn crops this time. Oh, my God. So they're carrying on with their plan. The syndicate.
Where are all the irrigation system things? Because they've got to have a lot.
They've got a thing for building, creating like green grass out in the desert.
Yeah.
Or green
The
vegetation.
X-Files closing and being reopened and closing and being reopened is not anything new from this movie. They did it even in the first season. They closed it.
And reopened it?
And the second season.
Oh, okay.
But here the X-Files has been reopened in the sixth season. Mulder and Scully, however, they will be reassigned to domestic terrorism. That's where I'm at right now. Is the X-Files are open, but we've got some other a-holes on it and not them.
A-holes. Did you know that Chris Carter actually wanted to end the series at season 5, and he wanted this to be the first of a series of films that would continue the story?
Really?
He wanted it to be a film series after season 5.
Huh.
But Fox said no.
So is that
Would it X-Files with a hyphen.
Yeah. Would it have been a different movie then if he had done that?
Probably, maybe. I think so. I don't think it would have
because
felt
this really
so. It feels a lot like the TV show, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just to me it really is just a long episode.
I think that's one of its shortcomings too, because if you were a fan of the X-Files back then, and I said this earlier, and you waited for this movie to come out, and then you saw it, I'm sure some part of you would be like, "Oh wow, it's great! I saw."
I'm trying to think of another show like Serenity, right?
Exactly.
Serenity is a great movie.
It is a great movie, and it feels
like a movie.
It feels like a movie, and it feels bigger than the TV show.
Right.
Not only that, but I think it succeeds at being a standalone movie.
Right. I think so too.
I watched Serenity before I ever watched Firefly.
I did too.
And I loved it.
Absolutely.
I
loved it, and I was like, well, duh, I got to go watch the show. So, yeah.
Science fiction, like science space adventure type thing. Certainly not hard sci-fi. But yeah, I don't think this succeeds as a standalone movie, and I think in the ways in which they try to make it succeed as a standalone movie makes it fail even worse, like with the really stilted, heavy-handed, exposition and dialogue and that kind of stuff. And
however, though, the fact is that
characters that appear and disappear and they don't seem to have any purpose, but they're obviously like there's something to them. They're like, man, these characters look really weird and they seem to be important, but we don't get any information about them whatsoever.
For all the problems this movie does have, though, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it.
I
didn't hate fun.
It. I didn't hate it either.
It got kind of boring in the middle-ish, and there were confusing problems. But the fact is that I love getting to see Fox and Dana pal around together, and I love the X-Files, so it's got aliens and stuff. I can't really dislike it. And it's not like it's so poorly written that there's like really awkward dialogue and stuff like that. Like it's pretty okay.
I like the performances a lot.
Yeah.
I think that the central relationship between Mulder and Scully carries this movie all the way through.
It does.
The story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The action scenes are a little bit underwhelming, but I think that where it does succeed is it kind of succeeds in the same place that it fails, in that it does kind of feel like an episode of the TV show.
If we can get rid of the confusing plot hole weirdness things,
it's a longer, slightly
more expensive episode of the X-Files, and for me, that's fine. I'm happy to watch this and then go into season 6.
Yep.
It's perfect for me. in
And it,
that
it does
that
take
regard.
place between
So,
season 5 and season 6. The end of season...
we even get a recap on the first episode of season 5 ends with the X-Files room burning, the office burning, and then we get this movie, and then we reopen on season 6, and they even do a previously on X-Files and show a bunch of clips from the movie. So
That's how you knew this movie existed, or... Right?
actually, there was a mini documentary at the end of season 5 that was in preparation for this movie.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what? So,
I see.
fun little trivia about Fox William Spooky Mulder. He's colorblind.
Oh, wow.
That saved him in an episode where Dana went crazy because he didn't see the color things on the TV. Whatever. His first words were JFK. His first word.
Oh, my God.
At 11 months old. His birthday is Friday, October 13th, 1961.
Okay.
He loves Star Trek.
I think 1031 was a time code that came up in the movie at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I read a bunch of trivia about how like the time codes in the movie all have like corresponding dates to like
For
Chris
a
Carter's
movie-
wife's birthday and stuff like
For
that.
a movie that is all about conspiracy and stuff, there really wasn't a lot of like
Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
Like in The Matrix, you're watching
And
it
all
and
the
you're
ones-
just like, oh,
Yeah,
God, my
exactly.
head is going to
And all-
explode.
All of the Easter eggs that I found were all like, this time stamp is Chris Carter's birthday, and it's then his wife's birthday, and this is his son's
Yeah.
day.
That's...
I don't know, bar mitzvah. I have no idea.
Mulder loved Star Trek as a child. There's a home video of him dressed as Spock.
That makes sense. I can see that. That makes
He hates insects.
sense. Oh,
He hates bugs. There's
I hate incest too.
not incest.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was flashing back to Old Boy last
Right,
week.
yeah, that's right. Well, he wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up.
That makes sense too.
Studied French in high school, got a degree in psychology from Oxford. Dana's birthday is February 23, 1964. Her dad was in the Navy, so she was a Navy brat. She was raised Catholic, but loves the movie The Exorcist. And also she loved Moby Dick, and her dad used to call her Starbucks.
Cool. Starbuck.
Starbuck.
Starbuck. Should be Starbuck.
Starbuck.
One thing about this movie, we're going to credit this, we're going to list this movie as The X-Files because Fight the Future is not actually in the title. Fight the Future is the tagline for the movie, and it was placed so close to the title in the official poster that it appears to be a subtitle for the movie, but the official title of the movie is just The X-Files. So fans of the show that consider this in the chronology of the series, they refer to this by the episode title Fight the Future, quote unquote.
I see.
So that's how they refer to this episode. So if you're talking chronologically, the end of season 5 into season 6 would be the episode titled The End, Fight the Future, and The Beginning. Because those are the names of those episodes.
And they reference the title in that scene where the well-manicured man is talking with Mulder and gives him the vaccine, and he talks about Mulder's dad hoping that Mulder would fight the future, which is the future of an Earth colonized by aliens. Okay, here's the real question, though. Do you believe?
I want to believe.
Okay, true.
Is that a good answer?
Yeah, it's a good answer.
As always, you can find us. Actually, not as always. We got our own domain. From now on, you can find us at our website, www.popcornpoops.com. It's very, very exciting.
So exciting.
You can also find us on iTunes, where you can leave us a little rating and review. We'd really, really appreciate that. We've only got 2 reviews so far. We want to see more of those, and we really like reading them. So please leave us one of those. You can also find us on Twitter at Popcorn Poops. Like us on Facebook. We're trying to get our YouTube channel off the ground. I'm slowly putting all of the few episodes that we've done of the podcast up on there, so you can listen to the podcast on YouTube. And we're thinking about starting a couple of video series. So we'll see how that goes. That'll be coming up. You can find me on Twitter at Dusty Cram Cram.
And I'm at Jesse Casper.
And until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
We are the Popcorn